I just can't play Avowed anymore. I honestly had really high hopes for this game, but it just wasn't what I was expecting at all. So firstly, we're going to talk about the combat in the game, as I think this is one of the most important things. And to be honest, I don't think the combat is that great. It's quite simple, basic, and it's really boring. I mean, I know there are a few abilities that you can use mid-combat, but I mean, there's not very many, and they're not very great either. Like, for instance, I like the dash. I like that you can dash out the way of like the enemies attacking and all that. I do like that. It makes the game and the combat a bit more fun. But the problem is, like, even that doesn't work very well, because sometimes if it's the same button as the jump button, and sometimes it doesn't dash, it jumps, and that can get you killed, and it's just so annoying. So even the abilities they can't even get right. So another thing I don't like about the combat is that when you attack or block, it uses energy. And I know you got potions which will restore your energy, but you shouldn't have to drink potions to restore your energy. So when your energy like depletes and you haven't got any more, you can't attack or block, and that's just really annoying. When I'm in combat, I want to feel like free. I want like the freedom of what I can do. I want to do what I want, and it's just like you feel so limited when you're attacking. So to be honest, I don't even use a sword or a shield, because I feel like, well, what's the point, because my energy is going to keep depleting, so I just use a gun. And sometimes I don't want to use a gun, but I feel limited to use one. So I don't know, that's another thing that just really annoys me. The last point about the combat that I don't like, and I guess this also includes like boss fights, is the big health bars. So in the game you'll come across these mini bosses, and they'll have like some huge health bar, so you know they're a boss. But they're just like take forever to kill, and it's just boring and annoying. Like, these bosses aren't interesting enough that you want to fight for a very long time, but you have to fight for a very long time. So as I said, the combat isn't that great anyway, so you're fighting these bosses for ages with boring combat, and their health bar is just huge. It's just boring, and you don't want to fight these bosses for ages. I guess the thing I will give them about the combat is that with the weapon choice, there is quite a variety. Like, you can use guns, bows, wands, swords, shields, double-handed swords and all that, so that is good. But at the same time, as I said, you are limited with the energy, so I don't know. Next, we're going to talk about the graphics of the game, because I think this is another important part of the game. And some of the scenery does look nice and everything, I do like that, but it ruins it from the art style. I really don't like the art style of the game. It reminds me of like a Sea of Thieves, and in Sea of Thieves it's fine, it goes with the game, but with like an RPG that's supposed to look really nice and has these beautiful views, I don't know, the game just, I don't like the art style, and it just seems really bright. Everything just seems so bright around you. And I don't know, it just puts me off. It just looks really cartoony and all that. Another thing as well, like when I was in the city and I was supposed to like go through a bad area where it was sort of like a rough area where all the bad villains are and all that, but I didn't feel like I was in a bad area at all. I just felt like I was in a normal part of the city, apart from sometimes the people like saying stuff in the street. But apart from that, I had no idea, because the game is just so bright, colourful. It feels like you're in a fairy tale everywhere you go. It doesn't matter if it's a bad place or a good place. I mean, at least if they're gonna like have bad places, make it look a bit more dull and all that, but they don't. Like, every single place in the game, it looks the exact same. So another important part of the game should be the story, and to be honest, what I've played of it, I'm not interested whatsoever. I'm bored of the story. And at least if the game is not great in other areas, at least make the story really good. But it's not. I'm bored, I'm not interested. And to be honest, I know I haven't completed it, but I've heard it's only 14 hours long. So it's not even long. It's not even a long story. So you've got to do all these like side missions. And it's just like, at least make the game a good story if you're lacking in different areas. And another thing which I'll get onto now is the dialogue, because that's also a main reason why the story is not so great. So the dialogue, I mean, some characters are not too bad, but honestly most of the characters in the game are just boring. They just have horrible dialogue.
Take another sip of my cool. Rude not to finish a drink someone bought for you.
No wonder you're hiding behind a mug. You're too worried about being polite to survive out there.
I don't know how like dialogue in like New Vegas is much better than this game. Why is a game that's like 10 years old, maybe even more, better than a game that's just come out now? Most characters are just like dull, boring, not interesting whatsoever. I mean, there is like mid RPG games that have better dialogue than this. Like when I'm having some like conversations with some of the characters, honestly, I'm just skipping most of it because they're just so dull and boring. While you're roaming around, you'll come across these waystones, which are basically like where your companions are and when you can upgrade gear and weapons, which, I mean, I'm not really interested in it. I mean, I don't care about it, but it's not something that I really want in the game or I really dislike. But apparently it's a rip-off of Baldur's Gate 3, which is it's called like a camp system in Baldur's Gate 3. And I haven't actually played Baldur's Gate 3, so I can't really compare it much, but apparently it's just a complete copy of it. Also, when you open up the game and while you're in the game, you'll hear like music. And I guess the music is fine, but it's nothing to make me go sort of like, wow. You know, it doesn't really like, wow, this music's absolutely great or amazing. It's just sort of in the background. So, but it's not like awful or anything. So the actual map in the game, I'd say it's quite a decent size. I think it's a bit small, but I know you can get multiple different places you can go to. So I don't think it's that big of a deal that it's quite small. But you can pretty much run it all, but you can also fast travel at the same time. Now we're going to talk about like the free roam, the exploration, and sort of the looting in the game, because honestly, first off, the looting is awful. It's really bad. Like, the only things you sort of loot is like crates. Just crates with like random stuff in. And to be honest, that's really bad. Like, where you have games that you just loot like bookshelves, or you loot just different areas you loot for stuff. This, all you find is crates, and you got to break it with a weapon or whatever. And you just find something in it. It's boring, so simple. And I don't know why. I mean, sometimes you'll have like these chests in like houses that are like hidden, which is fine. I like this idea where you just like find a random house and you've got to find a way into that house to get some good loot in a chest. Right, that's fine. But just the exploration itself is boring. There's not much you can see in the map. I mean, you come across these random places you can explore, but that's pretty much it. You don't get any random events in the map itself. There's not much to really look at. I mean, apart from like the scenery, there's just not much happening in the world itself. So basically, my conclusion to Avowed is that it's a basic, very simple mid RPG game. And it's such a shame because like there was so much hype around this, and some of the gameplay trailers looked really good and interesting. So it's just a shame that it's just a very simple, boring RPG game. It's a mid RPG game. It's nothing to get hyped about. I mean, if you enjoy it, fine, great, but it's not a top tier RPG game that you would really expect from these developers, to be honest. And I know there's like a lot of backlash to begin with, saying the game could be woke and that, but to be honest, I found like nothing woke in the game. But the game just itself isn't great. I've actually heard a lot of mixed opinions online. So some people like it, some people don't like it. But this is my opinion anyway. Let me know your thoughts. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And if you do like it, let me know why. Or if you don't like it, let me know if there's any more reasons why you don't like it.